I mean, I really dug it when Black Sabbath played NIB because that's a song, especially when for bass players, when Geezer was playing that bass solo in the beginning,
Yeah,
it was really magical to see because seeing that as like growing up, just like hearing that song and like hearing that solo, I always wanted to like cover that song and I covered it a
right.
bunch of times. But seeing them play it was just such a cool experience. So that was one of them, and then like Alice in Chains was another great highlight,
Hmm.
and Battery too.
The David Ellefson Show. Featuring Grammy Award winner David Ellefson and respected metal journalist Joshua Toomey. Presented by EllisonEmporium.com. Here is David and Joshua.
In 1975, which I just did. So it's super, dude, so
Yeah,
rad.
that's
This is
Yeah,
right.
you have
before
to.
team.
Yeah, I'll be up there next week, man. So you have to tell me
Oh yeah,
what the
it's
venue's
right
like,
by the
man.
Cadillac High School.
Oh, cool.
Oh wow.
Dude, it's so rad. I went there today. I mean, first thing, because we stopped off and we were coming from Cleveland, so we stopped off in Flint, and then
Yeah,
we were playing tomorrow night. But yeah, we went there. I
yeah,
could, dude, watching, standing at the football field. I just remember as a kid seeing
yeah.
in the magazines Paul Stanley throwing the football, and
Sure.
so then you get there. There's this cool memorial right outside of the high school, right next to the football field. And
Yeah,
at the venue, they had this great, like, big, huge cardboard poster of the entire, I guess, all of the football from the seniors to every grade to the Pop Warner,
Hmm.
all dressed up in Kiss makeup, and the
Nice.
cheerleaders. Dude, it was like so awesome. It was like 1975
yeah.
Circus Magazine
A
all
there's a
over
really
It
cool
again.
was.
documentary out there about that whole thing where they interview the football players, they interview the teachers, the principal, like they interview everybody that was involved in
Yeah,
that thing. Yeah, it's somewhere out there, man. It's cool.
dude, it's so
Oh,
rad. It's so cool. So you guys are here first. Well, hey, welcome to the show.
yeah.
I'm just brewing some coffee
Nice.
in my awesome French
Oh,
press.
I did coffee.
I think Chris Broderick bought me this. This is like the Range Rover of French presses. This thing has been
Nice.
indestructible. It's gone around the world. So anyway,
Yeah.
three bass players. We're doing a bass
Yep.
summit today. Of course, Josh plays in Primer 55. I play with whoever and everyone. And super great guest, Tye Trujillo, is here with us today. So,
Yeah.
um, man, thanks for joining us, dude. It's freaking great to see you.
Of course, man. Great to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Last time we saw each other was at Back to the Beginning in Birmingham. We
Yeah.
were standing backstage after taking the photo with Ozzy and everything. We were hanging out and we were talking about your touring coming up with
Yeah.
Pops, with old man Robert Trujillo. So, um, and dude, I got to say, one of the funniest, not funniest, the
Yeah.
funnest thing that I saw was during, we were all standing side stage, of course,
Yeah.
when Metallica was playing. And dude, you were totally thrashing, singing all the lyrics to Battery on the side
Yeah.
stage. I was like, dude, that is so freaking metal right there.
Yeah.
Because not only are you a professional, you grew up in a musical household, but you, like all of us, were just fans, right? And that was so cool. Talk about your experience at Back to the Beginning.
Yeah, it was really magical. I mean, I could not keep my eyes off the stage. It was just one of those days where I just like had to just watch the whole thing because there was so many amazing performers and artists that I could not keep my eyes off of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What was
Um,
a highlight for you? Maybe one or two highlights, I guess, because it's hard to pinpoint one.
yeah. I mean, I really dug it when Black Sabbath played NIB because that's a song, especially when for bass players, when Geezer was playing that bass solo in the beginning,
Yeah,
it was really magical to see because seeing that as like growing up, just like hearing that song and like hearing that solo, I always wanted to like cover that song and I covered it a
right.
bunch of times. But seeing them play it was just such a cool experience. So that was one of them, and then like Alice in Chains was another great highlight,
Hmm.
and Battery too.
Bad battery. Hey,
Yeah.
I remember I was there with your mom and dad. Were you there with us? We were down in that little sliver of the barricade, front of house, right? We were all front of
Yeah.
house watching Ozzy and for Black Sabbath we were there. And
Yeah.
yeah, because me and your dad were like pundits. We're like, man, check out Geezer, da 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 da. What it's hard to once you've been in a band and
Yeah.
you've done that, it's hard to just watch just entirely as a fan anymore, isn't it? You kind of become a bit of a not a
Yeah.
critic, but a critique, maybe in a way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And then
So,
get into the fan
Well,
mode.
one of the things I want to bring up with the Otto stuff, man, is listening to Sweaty Pool, like as the
Yeah.
song starts out, man, as a bass player, I love hearing such, great bass lines like that. And it's kind of it's maybe not a style most people would, maybe expect coming out of you. And, it kind of reminds me of like maybe some old school Fugazi or, just like some post-hardcore stuff, man. So kind of talk about Otto and the band.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, that bass line I came up with in my room just on a random night, and I was just like, something is, different and cool about this. It's like melodic, but it's also slappy, so
Mhm.
it's kind of a good mesh, a bunch of different things, and so really came up with it on the fly, and just kind of yeah, we've been recording this EP, and we're coming out with it soon, and we have the Sweaty Pool single, and so everything is just coming along great. Just kind of really itching to get back out and play live with Otto again soon because we have, I have Australia coming up with Suicidal, but then when I get back home, I'm wanting to get out there and start, playing these new tunes live, seeing,
mhm.
you know, the people have to say about them.
What are the touring plans? Because the album drops in when? December, right? Early December, December 5th.
Yeah, December 5th.
Right.
And right now, we won't have anything booked yet, but we're figuring some stuff out to where we can get some shows going, expect to pump out the EP and
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So really
So the
excited.
tour that you did with Bastardane, right? So how was that? I mean, look, obviously you and Castor know each other. Your dads are in a band together, you know what I mean? And it's kind of
Yeah.
because it's funny you see Gene and Paul's kids are, and have a band and you've this isn't your first rodeo, right? You've been doing this for a minute, right? So what was that like? Was there just kind of good because now you're not just backstage as the kids of the guys, the dads on stage. You're like, this is your turn up to bat, and you're out there. What was maybe the same about you guys touring, and
Yeah.
what was different? Because you're of a new generation, new audience, new techniques, new methods. Of how new bands toured as opposed to how we all grew up together.
Yeah. It's been yeah, it's really fun like touring with those guys like it's like really a big hang, we always like whenever we're like, have like a day off or something, we always do our best to like get together and really just talk music and
Mhm.
just hang like we really Castor and I we talk a lot about bands and stuff and like what we've been listening to lately and just life and everything and with the rest of the guys too. So it's a really powerful, I think, duo when when both bands go on tour together, and just ultimately a really fun time. Like the hangs are just like so great. I mean, there hasn't been another band I toured with where I've just had such good like hangs.
Yeah,
Well,
and probably kind of maybe a bit of a comfort zone, right? Because
Yeah,
obviously, look, we're young, right? We're going out and doing it because I know, right? I right after high school, I went to LA, we started Megadeth, and I mean, I'd been doing it around the Midwest, so I knew what I was doing. But it's new zip code, new people, new faces. Kerry King became a friend. He played in our band. But we're all young. We're growing up together. But like our
yeah,
parents didn't know each other. You know what I mean? Like my
yeah,
parents are like, "Where are you?" "Oh yeah, I'm in San Francisco." So it's a different day, right? Where
right.
things, obviously families are connected. There's a little bit more, and obviously you've got. Um, you know, I don't know, maybe minders, if you will, that can be there for you in certain ways, and as I would assume that's probably helpful, right? Just to kind
Yeah,
of make sure everybody's safe, right?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally. Like everybody has each other's back, which is great. Like we all know each other really well, and like everyone's like, yeah, like looking out for each other.
Right. Which is cool.
Yeah.
David, I'll ask you a question. David, did your kids ever, go to want to play bass or want to play music or try to get into it at all?
You know, they did. I mean, my daughter's extremely gifted, like naturally gifted with perfect pitch. She has taken, jazz vocal and jazz choir in school and stuff. And so she's quite a great musician. She could just watch YouTube and learn how to play guitar. She picks stuff up really easily. In fact, I had her come back to the Berklee College of Music summer sessions. I went back there. Steve Bailey brought me back there to do a
Cool.
summer session for a week, and I brought Athena back there with me, and so she joined in on a handful of courses. And in fact, the last master class I did that week, in fact, one of my rooms I went to were the Warning. They were there. They had just gotten Ellen DeGeneres, I guess, had given them a sponsorship for them to go there. So I've known the Warning since, I don't know, a good 10, 12 years at least, maybe longer. And then in my last master class I did in performance, Miles, Lars's son, Miles comes up to me into the meet and greet. I'm sitting, and he's like, 6 feet tall. I'm like, he goes, "Hey, you probably know my dad." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Lars." I'm like, "Lars who?" He goes, "Lars Ulrich." I said, "You're Miles." I said, "Last time I saw you with the big four in Poland, you were like this tall, and like a couple years went by." So Lars, Miles, and Athena got to hang out for a bit, and they were kind of just hanging just kind of just being friendly, hanging out, and so it's she tire kicked Berkeley. I think going to the East Coast for her was probably not the path. She did end up living in Nashville for a while, but she became a nurse. She went into medical. But it is that thing. I said, if you don't scratch that itch and sing
Yeah.
or play, even on a street corner or in your bedroom or in a choir, do something, because, to go out and start a band and do everything that we're doing. She's like, yeah, I don't want to suffer like that. And I think obviously for a woman, it's probably a different deal. But
Right.
we had that talk. One day she came downstairs. She goes, "Dad, I had a dream about how hard it was going to be, and I'd have to suffer and have hard times in a band. I don't want to do that." I said, "Yeah, good job." Funny enough, it's her birthday today. She's turning 27. She just turned
Oh, wow.
27. So
I believe it's
yeah, we
Rob's
did. We
birthday today too, isn't it?
Yeah,
is
they
it
share
is
Yeah.
it?
birthdays.
Oh, really? Wow.
Happy birthday then.
Today's the day.
Today's the
So
day.
today's the day.
Celebrate.
You know what I
Yeah, it
wanted to
is.
ask you, Ty? So,
Yeah.
so speaking to that, so what was it like growing up in your house? I think probably I first saw your dad probably in an Infectious Grooves video on MTV, and that would have been, I don't know,
Yeah.
85, 86, 84, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, so, you're growing up, your father's in it,
Yeah.
and well, what were some of the things that influenced you, and how did you find the bass, and what else do you play? I assume you're not just a bass player. You probably have a
Yeah.
broad musicality with a bunch of stuff. Just kind of talk a little bit about your upbringing and what that was like.
Yeah. So I grew up playing actually I originally picked up the guitar. I tried that out and then I was like I'm leaning more towards bass, so I started playing bass at around 8 years old. Um and then um and then I started like learning some scales and stuff from my dad and just practicing them on my own. And then Yeah, and then I was just grew up like hearing a lot of different music in the car,
Hmm.
different bands, and really like just inspired me to stick with it and just like write songs. And I then I started picking up the guitar again, so I like to write a lot on guitar too.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I play that as well. And then I want to get into the vocal kind of side of things, but I do some like backups with Otto, but want to start getting better at that, improving and but yeah, it's a very musical household. Like my sister plays drums, and my mom sings and stuff, and then obviously my dad plays too. So we're all like pretty creative people, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool.
See,
So for you, let me ask you this. So, because I know growing up for me, I saw Kiss, I saw my heroes, and in that day. to me, a band was everything. I wasn't just here to be a musician. I wanted to be in a band because to me, that seemed like that's my tribe. That's where I want to hang. I want a band of 4 or 5 brothers, and we just go take over the world together, you know? Was it like that for you, or was it more of a musical journey that led to you being in a band?
I would say like it was. I think I had that like mindset, yeah, like where I wanted to be in a band. Like I
Hmm.
definitely I wanted to be like with the tribe of people and tour around the world. That was like kind of one of those things I always like pushed to be like I want to be like a touring musician and just be able to a touring musician and songwriter,
Hmm.
to be able to just play like songs I wrote like live with my brothers and just tour
Hmm.
around, really just experience it, have a great time, and yeah.
So let me
And
ask you
by
a
all
question.
means, not have to get a job for God's sake. I mean,
Yeah,
I think we're still doing that, right? Please, God, no, not that.
yeah, please, no job, no 9 to 5.
So looking at the timeline, Ty, you said you picked up the bass at 8, and by the age of 12, you are touring South America with Korn. So I mean, so two
Yeah.
things there. A, how crazy is that? And then B, talk about field like learning fieldy bass lines because I've had to learn a couple of those over the years to play covers,
Yeah.
and where you want to play the guitar line. And then you start listening to what Fieldy's actually doing is two totally different things. So talk about both those things, man.
Yeah, so it was a trip like learning those lines because it's like very like kind of rhythm based with like his like style of playing and with his tone and stuff. Um and it was really interesting how like the universe worked during that time because I was like really getting into their music, and then the offer came to me, and I remember it was like we ran into them. I ran into them at the airport, and then Fieldy had seen my clips online and stuff, and he was like, "Wow, like your playing's great, and like maybe you can do a couple shows, in South America." So I was like, "Wow!" Like I was like shocked by it. I was like, "Wow!" Like are you serious? Like this
Hmm.
is great, and so I started learning the tunes, and it was like, yeah, it was kind of a interesting because a lot of the parts, like sometimes it's hard to hear the notes because the tuning is very low.
Right.
Hmm.
So when you hear the notes, it's, you're like, I try to guess what it is. But then when I got together with Monkey, the guitar player, he like taught me some of the riffs. He's like, no, it's actually like this. This is actually how the riff is. I was like, oh, I would have never thought of that. So like it was a trip, like going to a different register and tuning that I don't usually play in and learning some of the tunes. But then, after, it came all together and it was just such an incredible experience.
Yeah, there's not a lot of mid-range in his tone in the mix, which is where you would hear the note, the pitch, right? So it's
Right.
it's pretty scooped, which is his
Right.
style. So, okay, so you're the musician, you learn the parts.
Yeah.
And as we know, and as you probably very quickly learned, that's that's one part of it, right? The next part
Yeah.
is, traveling, being
Yeah.
on stage with the band in a big, especially a big show like a Korn show, is an entirely different
Yeah.
world than sitting face to face with Monkey or maybe even in a jam room jamming, right? Because I always say at home we practice to get into the rehearsal room to rehearse to take it to the stage for the show, right? It's a three-part
Right.
process. So you had that at a very young age,
Yeah.
right onto some big stages. Just talk about that, the fun of it, the fear of it, and just everything about it.
Yeah. The first show, I remember I was really nervous before because I had never played like on a setting, stage that big and with a crowd that big. So was real nervous, and it was, I never got like a really official rehearsal with them. It was always just kind of in the room with,
Hmm.
with Monkey, like sound checking or something. Um, but then when I, went on the stage, it was like, it all kind of went away, the nervousness, and I just fell into
Hmm.
this like groove with everybody, and it just kind of all like, yeah, I just kind of went into just focus. It all transcribed that, which was pretty magical.
Well, once you're there, it's like skydiving. Once you're out of the plane, you may as well enjoy the fall. right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you're
Yeah.
already going down. But there is something about that when you're there and it's clicking. Because look, I think anytime we walk on stage,
Yeah.
there's maybe not nervousness. It's not stage fright kind of stuff, but there's always like, okay, is my bass going to work? Are we going to hit the first note together? Whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then once you're in it, it's kind of
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, yeah, all right, this is okay, and so there was.
Yeah.
How I guess how much time did you have to prepare for that? Because
Yeah.
that's a huge undertaking.
Yeah. That was so I had like 10 months, I would say, to like learn.
Okay,
So I had a good amount of time to like really, get the groove of them and stuff.
right,
But
right.
yeah, it's a good amount of time.
So your other gig is Suicidal Tendencies, and obviously Ben from Dillinger Escape Plans in that band. And so, like, how crazy is he on stage? Have you had to like dodge him like 30 times, just to get out of the way of him, things like that? Talk about playing in that band and playing with Ben, man, because Ben's
Yeah.
an amazing, amazing guitar player.
Yeah, he's incredible. His band is incredible. Dillinger's great
Yeah.
band. I it's wild, man. He really pushes me, and like to like um to bring in some stage presence to run around because he's always interacting with the crowd and doing the craziest jumps, and it's really impressive that he's doing it. He's 50 years old and he's jumping off of like just like like 30 foot, 30-foot jumps. Like it's crazy. Uh, but
So how was the suicidal gig? I mean, it's funny. Your dad, it was
yeah,
we all were over in Europe with Metallica. I remember it was 1993. It was
yeah,
they'd been on tour for the Black Album so long. This leg of the tour was nowhere else to roam, right? And we're basically going to Budapest, Slovenia, and Slovakia had just become countries in like the last
wow,
6 months, right? Because they had just come out
yeah,
from Yugoslavia after
yeah,
the wall fell and everything. So these were pretty primitive,
yeah,
recently westernized countries, right? So he was there. Jimmy DeGrasse was on drums. That was just that era. But life moves on. Now you're playing in the band. Did you watch any videos of your dad? Did you ask your dad about stuff, or did you say, "Hey, it's my gig to have. I'm going into it. Just I'm going to do it my way and just kind of make my own path." How did you approach that?
so I so with a lot of like I would say with a lot of some of like the Lights Camera Revolution songs on
Hmm.
kind of that record he played on, I would say I asked most of the questions for him uh with that record, just like because like there's a lot of stuff going on in those songs and they're pretty intricate. uh
Hmm.
so I had picked his brain on that. And then for a lot of the rest of the stuff, I kind of just like looked at footage of like the recent suicidal shows and just kind of like
Hmm.
picked up on what's going on the tunes. So I did ask him a couple questions, but then also kind of did my research as well. And yeah, I did watch some footage, and even concluding the footage, I did watch some old footage of my dad playing with them, like the Spain footage, which was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's funny with Nick Menza. So he grew up a rocker. His dad was a very esteemed jazz musician, is still a jazz.
Yeah.
So, as kids, we sort of rebel against our parents. You're kind of like father, like son. Right? Your dad's a rocker.
Yeah.
You're a rocker, right? Is there
Yeah.
this part of you that you've got some eclectic musical thing? Maybe if not out of rebellion, but it's sort of, hey, this is my passion, and maybe it's not rock and metal and all this kind of stuff. Do you have like your kind of private little or secret path that you're working on or that you're passionate about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I listen to other genres other than like rock and stuff, and I am a rocker, but also I listen to like different like weird electronic music and just like other stuff and like some new artists, and I always listen to a lot of stuff. So and I experiment with it too with my setup at home, my
Hmm.
the setup, and I make sure to have some bass involved in it though, because I and instruments too, here and there, and analog synths too. So I always have like an open palette for like other genres too. So I that could be my form of rebellion or just different path.
Sure. Well, like
Yeah,
Nova Twins,
yeah,
there's doing something, I think pretty unique and pretty cool. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That different, bass is the front and center. And there are a lot of different kind of experimental stuff with that. And like you said,
yeah,
EDM music. I like what that, because look, it's still bass, it's just in the context.
right.
There's in the context of that, it doesn't always necessarily have to have four strings, but it's still a bass part. I mean, some of the funkiest, coolest bass ever
Right,
was Stevie Wonder, and playing on the
right,
clavinet, and this kind of stuff, and never even
yeah,
came from a bass, and
right.
so yeah, that's good to hear that you've got kind of another. And again, you're of a different age to be more probably receptive to things that your peers are coming out with, that musical styles like that.
Totally. Like a lot of my buddies listen to completely different styles. So I get that exposure from them. And then also I'll show them some of the rock music too. And then, you know, we'll, share some cool music uh, experiences and stuff. So it's cool. It's cool. Yeah. Bass everywhere is awesome.
So talking a little bit about, what David was talking about, you can go to your dad and talk,
Yeah.
say, hey, well, what was this with the suicidal riff, or, what did we do here? But how much of your path do you want to carve on your own and not, have to worry about, kind of the Metallica name, your dad's name, things like that, and building your own brand and your own band?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely like a main focus of mine is, like building my, building my music style and just
Hmm.
like just making like cool music with my friends and and being able to play those tunes around the world and be able to reach people that know my music for know my music with my buddies for us rather than just getting the name through my dad's band or and with all obviously like I you know Metallica and everything, with that. And but I think yeah, it's equally as important to establish like a following from like a perspective of like, like oh, I listened to like their record without even knowing who who his dad was. I just knew the band. I found them on iTunes or some random flyer or something on the street. And like so it's yeah, that's a goal too and like a just something I
Yeah,
like.
finding your own voice and finding your own path. Hey, so
Yeah.
speaking of that,
Yeah.
so the Master Puppets, the scene in Stranger Things in season
Yeah.
4. What did you record on that? You recorded bass parts on it, or what was that?
So what I did is I did so they did like a wanted a raw guitar track for it. So I
Okay.
recorded a guitar track and it was like put together with some other players too, I think. Like it was like kind of like a collaboration um to like put in that episode and that scene where like Eddie picks up the guitar. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's pretty cool and it kind of brought it brought kind of the live music back on the map that episode with like because there's a lot of young people that watch the show and stuff. So it was like
Yeah, big
yeah,
time. And
yeah.
then who is the guy there's another guy that plays, 'cause I see him at a lot of the Comic Cons and the horror conventions. He's out. What did he play? He played the solo or something, right? Is that what it was? Or was there another guitar part that he had played in that? Do you know him?
I don't know. I've never met the other guy involved, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, I know yeah, like he they like played there's a guy who played the solo
Right.
involved. Um and then I tracked bits and pieces of it. I think I did more like rhythm parts
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um so so yeah, it was like a nice mixture and like it's cool. I'd like to meet more of the people involved in that show though. It would be awesome like to show up to like they had like a like a premiere or something.
Yeah.
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 Those kids are really cool. I remember I did a Comic Con in Orlando, and they were very young, and Oh God, their names escape me. The dark hair Finn, is it? He's a bass player. He's probably a fan of yours. He was a fan of mine. He came over
Oh,
to my
cool.
booth. He's hanging out. We're playing bass,
That's cool.
And then I did another one with Twiggy
Mhm.
from Marilyn Manson. We did one. We did a Days of the Dead, I think it was in Chicago or something, and they were there with their parents, and next thing you know, they're like all jamming, and I loaned Finn my bass, and they're like on the floor like rocking out, and so that was cool to see, that they
Yeah,
were. Total rocker dudes, so it's
yeah,
and you're right, it's fun
yeah,
that a young community like that essentially takes a classic metal track like Master of Puppets and with you as well, obviously musically behind the scenes, and that suddenly propelled the
right.
popularity of not just Metallica and Master of Puppets, but just kind of the scene. And it just, all it takes is one show like that to just really
Yeah,
blow that up. Yeah, you could definitely tell. Um,
yeah.
who's 11? What's her name? I forgot her name.
I think she just goes by I don't know. Oh,
L,
Millie
yeah,
Bobby
L, whatever.
Brown. Millie
Yeah, yeah,
Bobby
Millie
Brown.
Bobby Brown. Yeah, yeah. You could definitely tell she was poised to be a star. I mean, she,
Yeah.
she was definitely on her way, So
Right,
yeah, no,
right.
that was cool.
So, it's
Um,
real quick, David. I'll throw this in here. It's funny. We're talking about so much about how your dad helps your band out, but in a weird way, you helped your dad's band out get to a whole new audience because a lot of kids were turned on to Master of Puppets through Stranger Things, and not that they need more fans, but it's kind of like this circular thing where it's like everybody's helping everybody in this situation.
Right. Yeah, totally. It feels great to be like a part of that, like to be able to get, get the exposure from the, younger generation and to knowing about that music because I noticed it is making a comeback. Like a lot of bands are like having like a lot of people around my generation like come out to the shows and support, and it's really great to see.
yeah, that's cool.
No, I
Yeah.
will tell you, I'll tell you right now, like
Yeah.
my band, new metal band from the early 2000s, we just did like our first reunion shows,
Yeah.
and half the crowd was 16, 17, 18. And I'm like, where did you guys find us? And I ended up going to the TikTok and seeing like, was there like a dance to one of the songs or
Right.
something? And there was a little bit of lip syncing to a certain couple of songs that might have gone viral or whatnot, but it was
Right.
crazy to see the amount of young people out at shows.
Totally. Yeah. New metal's making a comeback for sure.
Yeah, big time, big time. So it was cool that we did the show together with Metal Allegiance back in
Yeah.
January. That was great. Your whole family was there, of course, but you guys just totally slayed, man. It was a super freaking great show,
Yeah.
and that was great to just be side stage and see that and see how that connected. Hey, I got a question for you. I
Yeah.
don't mean to pry in your house, but it looks like over your shoulder. Is that a Gibson grabber back there? It has to be.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
man.
This thing's awesome.
I mean, come on, dude. I'm
Um,
here I'm in the town of Kiss Alive today. So that's
yeah.
when I saw the headstock, I'm like, I know that headstock from the cover of Kiss Alive,
Yeah. Keep rocking. Yeah. Keeping Kiss alive with that, man.
yeah. Hey, so
Yeah.
what's your collection like? What is your instrument collection looking like these days?
So these days I'm playing a lot of P basses.
Hmm.
There's was jamming this 64 model, but it was a Nash. So Nash guitars made it, but it's like feels exactly like a 64, plays like a 64.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a lot of that. What's your collection? Are you playing the Jacksons a lot these
I
days?
do Jacksons on tour. I do all Jacksons. I've got about eight signature models. I think they've got like 16 SKUs, meaning 4 and 5 string, silver,
Yeah.
black, whatever.
Oh
We
wow.
started experimenting with some other colors and some things,
Yeah.
and um,
Yeah.
so I've been doing that. For my studio work, I've got two moduluses from back in the day. One that I bought on the Euthanasia tour, and then another one that I bought, God, I don't even know when, somewhere in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Those always just stay at home. Those are the just walk in, plug in, just tone immediately, right? Just don't
Right.
even have to question it. I have a Spectre NS2 that
Yeah.
pre-Kramer, same thing. I just had EMG put some new pickups in it
Yeah.
to get that thing freshened up. And then I've got one P bass, a 78 P bass. That's the same thing. And those are pretty much my guaranteed. I kind of think about, okay, what am I recording? Which one of those would kind of work? Kind of more of a
Mm.
classic rock vintage tone with the Fender, something a bit more. I like Spectre. They really nailed that mid range and that
Yeah.
for rock and heavy rock music. But I
Yeah.
tell you, for me, those two moduluses, man, are just
Yeah.
fantastic. So, and then I got just a bunch of other just wacky oddities and various stuff, But at one point I had so many guitars, and I'm like, you can only play one of these at a time. Like, why am I keeping these? Why am I storing them? So I'm not really a collector. I mean, I collect. They collect in my storage unit, but I'm
Yeah.
not like, oh my God, I got to have this '63 jazz bass. It's just like I'll kill to have it.
Right.
So for me, instruments are tools, and even live, if I find one or two that I like, I just keep them, and I, make sure the frets are done. I take them to Jackson to the custom shop and make sure the necks are good and the fret jobs are nice. And and I just those
Yeah.
are pretty coveted, especially the 30th anniversary ones that we have.
Totally. No, yeah, no,
Mhm.
killer. Yeah. And the Spectres, like you mentioned, like I've always uh wanted to like play like an NS2, like an old one, like the
Yeah,
indies ones. Like, oh man, those look incredible.
that's the one that I have. I bought it out of the recycler in that
Wow.
newspaper in LA from
Yeah.
super good. I kept
Yeah.
it in the closet for a lot of years. And
Yeah.
excuse me, I finally started playing it kind of in the late 90s.
Yeah.
It started finding its way into some Megadeth records, and
Yeah.
now it's just kind of a go-to
Yeah.
metal bass for me.
Yeah. It
You know.
sounds has that metallic sound, the tone on those things. Super killer. I remember I attempted to learn Dawn Patrol.
Oh,
Um
did you?
I'm like that bass line is yeah,
Yeah,
the bass lines growing up hearing it, man, like picking it up. It's cool.
I appreciate it. Well, what's funny
Yeah.
with that? We were on tour with Ronnie James Dio,
Uh-huh.
and Jimmy Bain was the bass player. And Jimmy had this awesome Yamaha endorsement. Yamaha. To remember Bobby Blaster from Rat, he had a
Yeah.
Yamaha drum endorsement, and I went with Jay Reynolds down to his house in Redondo Beach back in the late '80s. And
Yeah.
dude, when Yamaha go endorses you, at least back in that day, you get jet skis, recording consoles, you might get everything, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what
Yeah.
Jimmy had. He had all these basses, and
Yeah.
he said, "Hey man," I went over to his house. He lived out in Woodland Hills. And
Yeah.
he just gave me a few basses. He goes, "Here, take it home." I'm like, "Really?" And one of them was this eight string that he had.
Wow.
And and I was like, get us this. I'd always wanted to play one. I'm a big fan of Tom Peterson from Cheap Trick with the 12 string.
Right.
So he gives me that bass. I take it home, and
Mhm.
I'm just sitting there goofing around, and suddenly my hands went to that Dawn Patrol, that do 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 da, especially the da 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 da, that da da da. That
Right.
A G right off the G string, da 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 na na. I would have
Yeah.
never played that. Even now when I play it, I'm like, I don't know what
But
weird spirit came into me that day to play it, but it's like it's one of those moments where the bass wrote the song. Like that song
yeah.
was in that bass. It just needed somebody to pull it out, and I think that's why I don't collect instruments, because
Yeah.
I feel like instruments have songs in them,
Yeah.
and that's why I pick up a bass.
Yeah.
You could go through four of them, and all of a sudden you get to number four, and like, oh, that's the one. And
Right.
you can't really explain it. It just feels good. It sounds good. It's just
Right.
four Fender P basses, and one of them is just, oh, this is the one. It feels good on my body. It sings my song for me, And so I've learned that over the years, and that's why once I get my songs out of them, if I haven't played them in a while, I'm like, I'll pick them up again and go, yeah. It's kind of like an old relationship. It's had its day. It's time to
Yeah.
go date someone else. You know what I mean?
Right.
So let it go find a new home.
Yeah. That's so killer, man. That's like that's crazy. Like being at being at his place and he's just like, yeah, take these bases home. Like, all right. Never
Totally.
talked about.
Yeah, and he never asked for him back. Finally, I think I called him and said, "Hey, do you want these back?" Oh, sure, Dave. Jimmy was such a cool guy, a sweet,
Right.
lovely guy, and I mean, what a great bass player on that Dio stuff. And
Right.
I think he wrote Holy Diver or helped write it with
Wow.
those bass parts. I mean,
Yeah.
what a great talk about again, bass front and center.
Yeah.
He wasn't always front and center, which just kind of like Bob Daisley, a guy that
Right.
just wrote these killer lines and killer songwriter,
Yeah.
but he didn't have to be the guy up front. He
Right.
kind of knew his place on the stage, but he's kind of like a pirate, which I liked about him.
Uh, those are some of my favorite bass players, like the ones that are just kind of like they write the catchy lines and they're not necessarily like they don't need to be flashy or anything. They just write the song, you know?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
even Bob Daisley's another one of those guys. I mean, look, that whole Birmingham thing. I mean, my gosh, his contribution to so much of that,
Yeah.
especially with Ozzy. Um, And, I got to know him going to Australia with Kings of Thrash these last few years. So he and I will get on the phone and chat. He said, email me anything. So I have his book at home. So I'll email him and go, dude, what is this white EBO Gibson bass you have here? And it has an extra pickup. So I'll be emailing him and he'll always hit me back with a nice long response. It's like he likes it.
Yeah.
I just said, dude, your music changed my life, man. Your bass playing, your songwriting. It's like I am, when you entered my life in 1981 or 82 when Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Man came out, when those bass lines hit my turntable, I was like, oh my God, who is
Yeah.
this guy? And it was just like, so
Yeah.
it's, so I guess who are some of those guys for you, that are the guys that just arcs your path?
Yeah. I mean, I think like with Sweaty Pool with Nick Oliveri was one of those bass players. I'm like, man, like his bass lines on some of those Queens records, Queens of Stone
Mhm.
Age was like really like something, I was listening to a lot like growing up and then a lot of Tool like with Justin Chancellor's lines and yeah, and Alice in Chains. So like a lot of those bands like I really like grew up and you know grew up like listening to.
Yeah. Another thing too, I was thinking, Josh, I'll let you weigh in here. I don't mean to hog the interview, but anyway,
No, I'm having a good time listening.
you know, you got to see, as much as your dad has had, obviously, of course, the Metallica gig is huge, and Ozzy, but when you're the side man, like, Ozzy and doing these gigs that he had for a lot of years, there's also, you probably saw very quickly, as my kids did too, even,
Right.
when Megadeth had disbanded for a period. And,
Yeah.
the job security inside the music business, things can change. You're in a gig,
Yep.
you're out of a gig, and then there can be this season where
Yeah.
like a friend of mine said, when one door closes, another one opens. It just sucks to
Yeah.
sit out in the hallway for a while, because
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you're right, you're out in the hallway kind of going, I wonder which door is going to open next.
Right.
And you also got to see that with your dad being a working musician, and you might have been
Yeah.
younger at that point, but
Yeah.
you can feel it. So I would assume with your musical path, you've learned. Look, it's great to have Otto. It's great to have your own band. That's your voice. You filled in with Korn. You've been suicidal. You've done these things. You kind of are learning to be. Um, Kind of a journeyman, right? Where you're learning to be the fill-in guy, the sideman guy, you're the band owner, partner guy, right? You're kind of getting to do all of it. Is there stuff you like about each of those? Is there one you prefer the most, or do you kind of like being able to sample the whole 32 flavors of ice cream? What's your thought?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, like to be able to, to do kind of all the trades right now because they all kind of work in together, I would say.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like because when I play with Suicidal, I learned a lot from the guys and everybody. So it's like because they're very experienced players. So with them, and then when I'm with Otto, it's like I'm writing these tunes with my brothers, and we're playing all of these tunes live and collaborating, which is great, and which is something I love. Collaborating with musicians and stuff, and being able, and we
Hmm.
learn from each other too. And so it's really like everything is just it's great. It's moving along as like a whole package, I would say, in a
Yeah.
great package. So
Yeah. That's great.
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
man.
not,
Well,
yeah,
I guess as we wind down here, I'll ask the question. I mean, what's 2026 look like for you? I mean, obviously new record coming out in
yeah.
December, so kind of what's 2026 shaping up to look like for Tye and Otto?
Yeah, so Otto, we're looking for right now, we're kind of like setting some stuff up. We're writing. We're gonna like keep writing, obviously. So we're gonna get together and write some more new tunes as kind of the year ends. And then with the release of the EP and get some shows going. And then Suicidal has Coachella in the spring, which I'm really stoked about. That'll be cool. Um, and there'll probably be some more dates too with that as well. You just yeah, just keeping things moving.
And stuff always lands out of nowhere when
Yeah.
you weren't even looking for it, right? That's
Right.
when next
Yeah.
thing you know, the call for something else comes along.
Right.
So, well,
Well,
brother, it was super
right.
great to have you here, Ty. It's great to see you again, and it was been nice to have a few moments throughout the year, like you say, Metal Allegiance, and then in Birmingham, and then thanks
Yeah.
for joining us today. This is really great for you're now part of the David Ellefson Bass Coalition here, so appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Appreciate you
Of
guys for having me, man. Thank you.
course,
It's awesome.
man. Of
This is
course.
great. Great. And hopefully more shows to come soon. That Metal Allegiance thing was super fun. And then being,
Yeah, yeah. I'm already
yeah.
thinking like, all right, we should add Otto to some Kings of Thrash shows and go out and freaking tear it up, man. It'd be awesome. So
Yeah, man.
there's always opportunities for stuff. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, you guys were super great, man. It was you guys would be a welcome addition to any bill. I haven't seen it firsthand with Metal Legions, man. It's a
Yeah.
super cool band you've got. So
Thank
cool. All right,
you.
man. We'll tell Pops hello.
I
And
will.
yeah, man, and we'll look forward to seeing you here sometime. You'll probably be at NAMM, I assume, right? You'll be roaming
Yeah,
around.
I
Yeah,
might be there. We'll see.
yeah, that's the place to be. It's the music.
Yeah.
It's the music summit for all of us to hang. So I'll look forward to seeing you if you're there. So
Yeah, man.
all right,
Yeah.
be well, man.
Yeah.
All right,
Be
man.
well,
Take
man.
care.
Thank
See
you
you later.
guys.
Yep.
Look forward to
Thanks.
seeing
Bye
you
bye.
guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye. Bye.